This is Saturn, girl. And I'm tripping on these transits, yo. Why? Because on March 22nd, Mars, our malicious master of mayhem, will enter their perplexing Pisces and remain there until April 30th. Mars in Pisces reminds me of self-flagellation. Like, did you ever see the movie The Da Vinci Code? There's that Opus Dei guy who beats himself. Kinda like I beat parts of myself. And I also tend to yell, "Oh God," when I finish. I mean, seriously though, Mars in Pisces is such a martyr. Like if Jesus had had Mars in Pisces, he would have crucified himself and then asked the Roman soldiers if they needed anything else. It would also be very fitting that he started a religion that thrived on guilt and repression. I mean, I love Pisces Mars, but they don't allow themselves to enjoy anything. I imagine them endlessly edging themselves without actually finishing. Not me, though. I finish myself more than I finish my meals. They could be such fanatics, though. It's like the Inquisition. Like, we need to brutally torture you to show you God's love and mercy. Anyway, I want to talk a little bit about the symbolism behind Mars in Pisces, and look at how it expresses in natal charts. And finally, what it means for you personally in transit by doing your horoscopes for the occasion. So please make sure to watch until the end. But first, let's look at the fun chart, shall we? Look here. Here's Master Mars at the very end of Aquarius. And let's go forward a couple days and boom! He's penetrated into Pisces. How yummy. Some key phrases I thought of for Mars and Pisces, though, are passionate preachers, inspiring idealism, and fervent fanatics. Why? Well, Mars rules violence, aggression, and conflict, yet also passion, masculinity, and victory. He also rules my favorite thing, love affairs. Please, Master Mars, ruin my makeup and mark me up like a bad term paper. I need it. Pisces, though, has very different qualities. That's mostly because it's ruled by Jupiter, our didactic daddy of dogma. In fact, Pisces is the feminine water house of Jupiter. Therefore, Pisces is like Jupiter turned inwards, towards contemplating the big questions in life, like, how is it that things exist? Do I even exist? And why don't men wash their hands when they use the restroom? Sagittarius, though, is like Jupiter turned outwards, asking big questions like, what's the problem, officer? Why are you arresting me? And don't I get a phone call? Yes, Pisces has to do with Jupiterian subjects like philosophy, spirituality, and religion. But it's also imaginative, dreamy, contemplative, and introspective. Jupiter is also known as the party animal. So both Pisces and Sagittarius are infamous for their penchant for controlled substances. I mean, you know they'll try anything at least once. Yeah, once. This is because Jupiter rules the other world, the world of subjective realities, subtler existences, and the birthplace of ideas. Positively, this makes one aware of a greater dimension of life than they previously experienced. But negatively, this leads to a tendency to escape or avoid reality through fantasy and intoxication. It's also interesting to note that Pisces is the sign immediately preceding Aries and the spring equinox. That's Mars's home! It's like there's an optimism about Pisces, not just because she's a Jupiter-ruled sign, but also because she announces that spring is almost here. Apparently, many fish even begin to spawn in Pisces, which makes spring the best fishing season. And I love the taste of fish. But how about Mars in Pisces? What does that mean? Well, what do you get when you mix spirituality with aggression? The firebrand preacher! I think of Joel Osteen, who's a Pisces sun, not Pisces Mars, but you feel me. Mars in Pisces, though, has the capacity to penetrate into the unknown. I mean, Mars is the lord of penetration, but it can also give the drive to impose one's own values on others. These people can inspire us with their words, ideas, and creative work. They're also capable of selfish displays of martyrdom. For example, I think of the famous mid-19th century painter, Vincent van Gogh. His works are famous for their unique style and haunting imagery. His paintings have also inspired artists for 100 years. He also had a super obsessive crush and tried to guilt trip her into a relationship by removing his ear and sending it to her like a gift. Oh, how romantic. My ears are way too cute for that, though. I've got fun elf ears. I also think of the 20th century Marxist revolutionary Che Guevara. It was witnessing the poverty and degradation of people all over South America that inspired him towards aggressive idealism. Che was even quoted as saying that the true revolutionary is guided by a great feeling of love. He was eventually apprehended by the CIA and subsequently executed. But before he died, he exclaimed, "Go ahead and shoot. You'll only be killing a man." Like, that's some real Pisces Mars martyrdom right there. We also see violent fantasies with this placement that can lead to sexual abuse. For example, the notorious child trafficker and rapist Jeffrey Epstein. He had Mars conjunct Venus in Pisces. I really hate talking about this evil asshole, but he literally created his own fantasy island, and not like the fun one from the show with Ricardo Montalban and Hervé Villechaize. Deplane, deplane! No, this was a violent fantasy erected upon and exploitation, fueled by the selfish desires of powerful men. Then, the famous misogynistic manosphere YouTuber Andrew Tate has the same placement. He's been having his own ongoing legal trouble too, with allegations of sex trafficking and sexual assault. He's also very passionate and idealistic about his misogyny. In fact, he's even gotten into trans misogyny now. He famously said that he'd rather fuck a very hot trans woman like me rather than a less than hot cis woman, but he used a way worse word than that. Too bad his face looks like a toe with facial hair. Not my style. But what does this mean for you? This is a time when things aren't what they seem. Our motives will be muddled and murky, and we must remember that other people's probably will be too. It's important to ask ourselves, why am I doing what I'm doing? Intention matters. We're also going to be more sensitive, and by that I mean thin-skinned. We're going to have skin thinner than condoms, yo. Our emotions will be violent and compelling, like a whirlpool sucking other people into our drama. We'll feel protective and defensive about what we believe, which can lead to what? Ideological conflicts. Debates can be good and offer an opportunity for constructive dialogue, but more often they degenerate into personal squabbles and attacks. And chances are you won't change anyone's mind. The important thing here is to walk away when you feel like you're hitting a brick wall or feeling adversarial. But to find out how this will affect you personally, we need to do your horoscopes. We do these for each rising sign to see what house Mars will be entering in your natal chart. So if you don't know your rising sign, go ahead and watch for your sun sign. But I really advise everyone to get to know their rising sign if they can. You'll need your exact time of birth, of course. So let's start off with Aries Rising, our Aries Rising Hermes. This means Mars is entering your 12th house of mental health and isolation, and coming out of your 11th house of hopes and friends. You probably had conflicts with people in your social circle, and probably felt down and discouraged, like your aspirations seemed unrealistic, or a main source of support was cut off in some way. Now, you're probably wanting to be left alone to process and lick your wounds. In fact, you may bite anyone's head off who disturbs your peace. Venus has already been here, probably making you want to do some self-care. But Mars here promotes self-destructive behavior, so please take care of yourself. But let's move on to Taurus Rising, our Taurus Rising Hermes. This means Mars is entering your 11th house of hopes and friends after leaving your 10th house of life direction. You've probably had conflicts at work, maybe with bosses or authority figures. You may have also been competing with coworkers for promotions or new positions. Those conflicts, though, probably led to a loss of support or a loss of optimism. Venus is already here, though, and is good for fostering reconciliation, and also very good for making you get out and be more social. But Mars, on the other hand, stimulates disagreements that can lead to cutting people off. So please don't be hasty. But how about Gemini Rising? Our Gemini Rising Hermes? This means Mars is entering your 10th house of life direction after leaving your 9th house of beliefs. You probably developed new ideas and beliefs, which I bet you got quite attached to, didn't you? This leads to fights over politics or spirituality, and this may have cut you off from an old belief system. Now, those conflicts could have also led to a dissatisfaction with your current job or chosen path. Maybe it doesn't align with your values anymore. This also leads to conflicts with authority figures, yes? And we have the impulse to rebel or even quit a job. Venus here usually brings a constructive authority figure or a mentor, oftentimes a woman, because it's Venus, who gives you guidance or brings up an opportunity for a new position. Or they give you a little recognition that boosts your visibility. But Mars, on the other hand, makes us very competitive with coworkers and even bosses. So beware of having a blowout, right? Or quitting too hastily. You may regret it later, especially in September when Mars enters your 2nd house of money. But let's move on to our Cancer Rising friends. This means that Mars is entering your 9th house of beliefs after leaving your 8th house of death and debt. You probably spent more money than you had, or accumulated more debt. You see, we oftentimes have unexpected expenses that pop up and drain our resources. These material problems, though, most likely led you to a spiritual or moral dissatisfaction. We often cut off an old belief system, and we get very passionate about a new one. This often leads to arguments and ideological conflicts with people who still cling to the old ideas that you once did. Venus in the 9th house, on the other hand, can present us with new ideas and new points of view. She can represent mentors, but also women lawyers, or easing legal conflicts. But Mars in the 9th house can also bring us trouble with the law, like speeding tickets or parking tickets or some sort of citation. So be careful. Follow the law and the speeding limits because you probably won't want to. But let's move on to Leo Rising, our Leo Rising Hermes. This means Mars is entering your 8th house of death and debt and leaving your 7th house of partnerships. You may have had fights with your partner or partners, and these could have even led to breakups. If you're single, though, you probably felt frustrated by dating, or like you'll never meet someone. Now, this probably led to cutting off a partner, financially, or finding yourself cut off. We also have big, unexpected expenses, right, that we have to put on credit. And this is a time to save money because you won't want to. Venus here, though, promotes forgiveness and making amends with people. Sometimes it's physically paying someone back, but more often it has to do with squaring an emotional debt. Mars, though, can stir up old hurts, hates, and traumas. It shows us those things that we've suppressed or avoided so that we can process them by feeling them. So don't fall back into the trap of avoiding your hurts. But let's move on to our Virgo Rising Hermes. For Virgo rising, this means Mars is entering your 7th house of partnerships after leaving your 6th house of illness and obligations. You may have had health issues that came up, begging to be addressed. Alternatively, though, this also gives us the drive to get done. This taking care of business attitude, though, can lead to conflicts in relationships. We can get one-pointed and forget about our partners, or they can get hairs up their asses about us. Venus here, though, promotes romance and harmony with our partners, and I always say this is a great time to take date nights. But Mars often pushes us into useless conflicts that can often lead to breakups later. So the key here is to create time and space for communication. We need to talk and share how we think and feel. Otherwise, it leads to what? Misunderstandings and resentment. But let's move on to Libra Rising, our Libra Rising Hermes. This means Mars is entering your 6th house of obligations and illness after leaving your 5th house of children and pleasure. If you have children, you most likely had conflicts with them. They could have been unruly, or you had to address a problem that they were having. Now, this leads you to being a badass and having to take care of business. This is the time to get done. If you've been putting things off, then you need to make a list and prioritize what you need to do. Venus here helps us to start constructive routines, like better nutrition, exercise, and sleep. So establish these routines soon, because Mars in the 6th house can lead to burnout, and we can get physically ill from that. But let's go on to Scorpio Rising, our Scorpio Rising Hermes. I love Scorpio Rising. My partner is Scorpio Rising. This means that Mars is entering your 5th house of children and sex, after leaving your 4th house of home and your private life. Your home life has probably felt quite antagonistic and frustrating. Either people in your home, the home itself, or even the land that it's on has been taxing your patience. That situation will probably lead to tension with your kids or a situation involving them. They could be a big pain in the ass, fighting you every which way. But if you don't have kids, this could also make you really horny. Venus here helps us to enjoy ourselves, to have fun and sexy liaisons, and to take our kids out to do enjoyable things, like roller skating. My favorite. That is, after sex. But Mars brings in this attitude of pushing yourself to have fun. Like, we're gonna have fun whether we like it or not, damn it. But it's more important to ease your nerves by slowing down and not forcing things. And to my partner, don't worry, you're going to get very lucky. But let's move on to Snagimattarius Rising, our Snagimattarius Hermes. This means Mars is entering your 4th house of home and private life, after leaving your 3rd house of siblings and communication. If you have siblings, you may have had a fight or a falling out with them, or an aunt, uncle, or cousin. You may have had quite a bit of road rage too. But the main thing here with this placement is harsh words and difficult communication. These things likely infiltrated your home situation. The sense of having to rush around, or fights with family, or just being verbally abrasive could make your home situation very frustrating. Oftentimes, things also break around the home. Sometimes you break them. Please don't put any holes in your drywall. Venus here promotes enjoyment in the home and enjoying your own company. So you may want to do things to beautify your home space and make it uniquely yours. Mars, though, can lead us into conflicts with our parents or with our past origins in general. Rather than just cut people off, it's important to establish boundaries so they know what you're willing to put up with. But let's move on to Crapricorn, our Crapricorn Rising homies. Please don't take offense to that. It's just funny, you know. Crapricorn. This means Mars is entering your 3rd house of siblings and communication after leaving your 2nd house of money and possessions. You probably suffered a financial loss, unexpected expenses, or tried some retail therapy that ended up stressing you out more. A money situation could lead to falling outs with siblings or extended family, or your patience gets really depleted. You'll also have a sharp tongue and be more prone to angry words and arguments. Venus here, though, promotes eloquence, diplomacy, and tact, as well as warm relations with friends and family. But Mars here also gives us the tendency towards anger in our errands and commutes. So beware of road rage and be kind to service staff. You don't want to be a Karen, do you? Ask yourself, how much does getting your fast food order wrong really affect your life? But let's move on to Aquarius Rising. Our Aquarius Rising homies. This is me! Yay! Mars is entering our second house of money after leaving our first house of self. We likely felt a boost of confidence, or perhaps arrogance. We likely asserted ourselves and our interests, sometimes even at the expense of others. But a big ego boost can lead to us being overly optimistic about our finances and our material situations. We'll often find ourselves spending money that we should save. Venus here, though, can present a little gift or offering of money, sometimes a promotion or a raise, but the desire for retail therapy is still high. Instead of being therapeutic, though, Mars makes the situation stress you out more. So the best thing to do is to set a budget for yourself and to set aside money that you can have fun with without breaking the bank. But let's move on to Pisces Rising, our Pisces Rising homies. This is my little brother. This means Mars is entering your first house of self after being in your 12th house of isolation and mental health. Let's be real here. Mars in the 12th house sucks. And you may have had to retreat from social life, to lick your wounds perhaps after a confrontation. It also gives us a attitude, and we can fall back into self-destructive patterns of behavior. So Mars in your first house will be a much welcome change. In fact, I'd say you'll bounce back with a new sense of empowerment. You'll feel the pull to assert yourself, represent your own interests, and possibly be a little arrogant, dare I say. Venus here, though, makes us feel attractive and sparkly. She gives us a grace and quiet confidence that also makes us quite attractive to potential partners. So get out and mingle. But Mars here, on the other hand, is far more boisterous and self-interested. So you'll have to try your best to use this sense of empowerment to lift up others around you and not just your own ego. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. Thank you for watching until the end. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also comment below because I want to know what you think and it helps me out with the algorithm. Please also make sure to click the bell when you subscribe so that you get notified when my new videos drop. And my videos are the best. Please also help support my channel. You can donate through either Super Thanks on YouTube or through my PayPal or my Patreon. All my links are below in the description. It helps me keep making such phenomenal content. And I'm very cute and very funny, and I know my stuff. If you can't support me with donations, you can just watch all my videos all the way till the end and let the commercials play. So rather than giving me money, advertisers do. I also do the best readings. It's science. You can book through my website or contact me directly. Once again, my information is below in the description. But most importantly, I love you. You're beautiful. And have a spectacular, whatever it is you're having.